Good evening and happy Teach Me Tuesday. My name is Lisa Houston. I am a NICU clinical nurse educator, and today we are going to cover the left shift. Sounds like a fun dance move, huh? Not really, though. Let's talk about what the left shift is, what it means, and how it affects all of our patients in the NICU. So the first thing we want to talk about is, hey, we drew this CBC. What is all this stuff that we're looking at, and why? Why do we want to look at the platelets and the erythrocytes and the neutrophils and all of that? Essentially, what we're doing is looking at different cell types, seeing how many of them we have in our baby's blood, and how that is affecting our babies. Typically, when we think about our red blood cells, we're thinking about our hematocrit or our hemoglobin. In the unit that I work on, we really focus on our hematocrit, and it kind of helps drive decisions regarding blood transfusions. When we think of our neutrophils, we're looking at those white blood cells. What are the white blood cells? How mature are they? How are they best working together to help our babies? So we think to ourselves, okay, we've got our white count. We're looking at our neutrophils. They're all the same, right? Like they're just different cells that do the same thing. And that might be true. They may all be working towards capturing and attacking the bacteria so that it can't overtake the baby, but they can't really do that until they're fully mature. So what is an immature neutrophil? An immature neutrophil is that cell that is not completely formed yet. It is a little myeloblast. It's really close to the bone marrow. It's towards the inside of the bone marrow. It is not ready to come out and fully mature and attack all of the bacteria that might be coming in. When you get towards a segmented neutrophil or a seg, that's when you've got these mature neutrophils that are coming out, protecting the baby against invading bacteria, that are able to fully do their job because they are fully formed, they are fully mature. So when we think about the neutrophil's job and why it's bad if we have too many, is that they really come in and they encapsulate the bacteria and they destroy it. They do that when they're strong and they're powerful and they have the resources within themselves to be able to do this. When too many immature cells come out, they're kind of like, oh my gosh, here I am. What am I going to do? I don't know how to attack. I don't know how to encapsulate. And so some of that bacteria can continue to proliferate and really get into the baby and make the baby susceptible to infection. So why are they fighting? Why are there so many present? Well, anytime that they feel like, hey, I've got a bacteria coming in, that stem cell within your bone marrow is like, okay, we got to send some guys out. We got to get ready to fight this bacteria. So it causes the bone marrow to go into overdrive. When it sends out the mature cells and they are getting attacked by the bacteria and they themselves start to die, then the bone marrow almost kind of goes into this stress panic mode where it's like, okay, I'm just going to release anything I can. And while I'm releasing those things, they may be immature, not fully ready to encapsulate this bacteria, but I got to get something, and maybe at the very least, I'm going to weaken it. So let's talk about that one more time. It's a lot, right? We've got these healthy, mature neutrophils, the segmented neutrophils. If you look at them, they've got almost like these different body part types within the cell. If exposed to too much bacteria, the bone marrow panics and it sends out those immature cells, like the myelos and the mets and the promos and all of those. When you think about that, it's kind of like soldiers, right? You go to basic training and then all of a sudden you're going out to war. Or you have soldiers that have already been at war. They kind of know the routine. They know what they're doing. These are the soldiers that are just new. They are not quite ready to be out on their own, but they're being sent out from the bone marrow. So if you think about the bone marrow and the cells coming out along the way, the further into the bone marrow you are inside, so you're to the left. And that is what a left shift is. So it's a sign that the mature cells are being used up too fast. The bone marrow cannot keep up, so it starts sending out these immature cells, and they can't fight the bacteria, and that can lead to sepsis. Sepsis is when that, bacteria has overtaken the bloodstream and it leaks into the blood vessels and then out into the surrounding tissues, which can cause organ dysfunction. But essentially, we're just putting out too many too fast. So how do we look at our labs? So primarily we're going to look at our ANC and our I to T ratio. So our ANC is our absolute neutrophil count. It looks at the relation of the immature to mature neutrophils as a percentage. So if it's less than 1,500, that is a correlation with infection. So here in this example, we've got a white count of 12.5, we've got 60 segs, 1 bands, 3 metas, 1 mono, and 26 lymphs. So we add all that kind of together, we do our math, and we get an ANC of 8,000. So that's better than 1,500. So this baby's probably in a good spot. We don't have this absolute neutrophil count of less than 1,500. With your I to T ratio, you're looking at the total immature to the total neutrophil count. So in this example, we have we're taking our immature, our bands plus our other immatures, so that's 0.01 because it's a percentage, plus our other immatures, our metas, so plus 0.03, that's going to be your numerator. And then your denominator is the percent mature, which is your segs, so 0.06 plus all those, or 0.6 plus all those immatures. So you do that math and you get 0.04. And so if it's less than 0.2, it's considered okay, right? Like we're in a pretty good spot. Our I to T ratio is in a pretty good place. So this baby is not at high risk for infection, or is not suggestive that maybe they have an infection. So what we've seen here is that when the bone marrow is just asked to work too fast or too hard, it releases those cells, like these little soldiers are coming out before they're fully ready. That means that the bone marrow back on the inside to the left of the graph has sent out its immature cells. And that means that our mature cells are being used up too fast. That tells us that the body has reacted to signs of infection. And that is what a left shift is. It's looking at your cell counts and seeing signs of infection. So that's our recap on left shift and sepsis today. Please join us next Tuesday for another Teach Me Tuesday, when a recap videos can be found here on our YouTube channel.